Nully, how's it going?
Good, John. How you doing today? How you
I'm doing
living?
well. I'm doing well. Happy pre-Super Bowl Sunday.
Yep. No, I'm looking forward to it. You got your Pats winning tomorrow or what?
I'm with the Pats. Yeah.
I can agree with that. I can agree with that. It might be a tough game. The Seahawks look pretty tough, I'm not gonna lie, but we'll see. We'll see.
The Seahawks look tough. Their defense is spectacular, I think, and Witherspoon, can lock anybody up. And everybody's putting all the onus on to Sam Darnold, which I think is what it is for the guy.
Yeah.
And if he can pull it off, he can pull it off. But I mean, frankly, without a whole lot of over enthusiasms here, I look at the Pats and Vrabel and Diggs and everybody on the squad this year, and it's like they have the makings of like one of those just like teams of destiny or something like that.
Yeah, no, there's definitely something special in the air for them. I can't lie. Just to get this far in general, it's something special.
Yeah. So where do we find you today?
I'm checking in out of Portland, Maine right now, over in the West End area, a neighborhood that I've grown up my whole life and have cherished. But yeah, we're from Portland, Maine right now. We're checking in.
How's the snowpocalypse treating you?
Not too bad at this point, since I've lived here my whole life. I'm kind of used to it. I feel like growing up, we got a lot more snowstorms and a lot more snow on the ground, but it's just a bit cold for me. That's the worst part. I could deal with the snow. It's just when it's a little too cold to be walking around. It starts to get a little rough. But we definitely have had a couple snowstorms. But I'm lucky enough that I live in like a little apartment complex. So I don't have to shovel too much. So I guess I can't complain like the couple other people that own their own homes that have to shovel. But it's Maine. You kind of have to get used to it.
I hear that. So, all right. So let's walk it back here. You were born in Houston, Texas, but you moved to Maine when you were young. So, just kind of describe like what it means to grow up as a Mainer.
Yeah, so my family is from South Sudan. They had immigrated over to Houston, which is where I was born. Only spent like a year or so there, just like my infant years, so I don't remember too much. But yeah, growing up in Portland, Maine I don't know, it's special to me, I'm still close with a lot of my friends from elementary school and such. There's a decent immigrant community around here. That I've gone accustomed to and I've grown with. But just everybody's super nice. Summers are amazing. The winters are a bit rough, but yeah, I think there's a big focus on community over here in Maine, which is nice. At least Portland, which is where I've spent my whole life. And but yeah, it's definitely molded me and helped create the person who I am today.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, it's a crazy special place. I think everybody who goes there knows that pretty quickly. Um,
Yeah.
and not to belabor all of the sort of like the hits here, so to speak, for Maine, but like, what are some of the iconic like nature destinations there that you love the most?
Um, in high school, I went to a high school that really cherished like being outside and in nature. So we go to up to Acadia a few times on a couple bike trips and a couple camping trips. It's beautiful up there. This summer, one of my friends has a childhood home up in Idaho, which is like a little island off the mid coast area. And that was beautiful as well. Just the summers around anywhere in the state during the summer, you can have a great time being outside. It's just the winters are a bit rough. So I would definitely say Acadia. I haven't been up to I don't know Baxter's the other state park. I haven't been there either. But yeah, definitely Acadia. There's beautiful beaches. A couple of Josiah be surfing and stuff. So there's a bunch of nice beaches to surf. So yeah, it's hard. It's definitely very easy to find a nice place to hang out during the summer. And if you're a winter sports person, I'm sure you can do things all year round out here. So
Yeah.
with skiing and the mountains and snowboarding and all that. So yeah, it's a beautiful state.
Well, yeah, as you mentioned, shout out Josiah Baker, who introduced you and I, and
Yeah.
for the art show that we did back in September. The board that you guys came up with is incredible.
Thank you, thank you.
And yeah, and Josiah, per your comment, you know, introduced Higgins Beach to me, and
Yeah,
I got to be honest, like and I've told him this like 100 times. I it coming from San Diego, I mean, it's been a long time since I've seen a beach setup that's like as perfect as how like the sight lines and everything at Higgins is all framed up.
yeah, it's beautiful out there. On a good day in the summer, like cars are like lined up just to get a little parking spot out there. It's tough. Sometimes it's tough to get out there, but yeah, that's definitely one of the great ones out there.
So, I just like last question here on the topic, like for you, what are some of like the people, places, or things that you love in Maine and want to shout out just from that community?
Um, I definitely have to shout out my West End area, the neighborhood I grew up with. It's not far from the high school and the elementary school I went to. Growing up, there was like a black owned grocery store and barbershop there. So it's not there anymore, but that's something I hold dear to me just during my childhood. Just a couple of good basketball courts and such, where me and my friends that I've grown up with and the ones that I still am close with, that was a big part of our childhood. Definitely have to shout out the Maine Celtics for sure. They're a great organization. All the sports teams, to be honest, in the city. Portland Hearts of Pine. I haven't been to the Mariners or the Sea Dogs too much, but they do a great job drawing the city in and really honing on the aspect of the importance of community a lot. So it's great to be at some of those events and the partnerships and the sponsorships that they do with the community is great. But yeah, there's a bunch of great people. It's a bunch of good restaurants that have given me the opportunity to do their design and logos and stuff like that. So yeah, the community's been kind to me. It's hard to pinpoint specific people or companies, but yeah, just everybody around town has been great.
Yeah, so you mentioned the Maine Celtics, aka the Red
Yeah.
Claws.
Yeah, the Red Claws, we gotta hopefully, bring that back one day. But I understand why they had to make that, turnover. But I definitely miss the Red Claws. Same with the Mariners. They used to be the Portland Pirates. I miss that as well. But change is good. Growth is good.
Right. So you recently did, like you said, some design work uh,
Yeah,
with the Maine Celtics. Just talk about how that came about. Talk about what it was.
yeah. My good friend Lewis used to work over on the operations team. I think he's, congrats to him. I think he's down in Boston now working with the Celtics. So good for him. But he would always, kind of put, the little bug in a couple people's ears in the office that, a new guy named Nully that, might be able to help out with some graphic work. So it started out with that. And they would have a little couple under the table kind of projects that they needed done. And they'd reach out. I did a little T-shirt for them uh, to celebrate their playoff run. I think the past year, and then this year I did the towel design for their home opener, which was nice. So hopefully in the future we could do a couple more projects. I'm definitely down to do a jersey. That would be insane. That'd be something to check off the bucket list. But yeah, they've always been good to me. Good people over there. They're still giving me commissions and stuff. I just did a wedding invitation design for one of their staff members. So yeah, they've been good people over down at the expo.
Yeah, Ron Harper's son's starting to ball out a little bit.
Yeah, it seems like I love the way the Celtics are going about development basketball wise. They seem like they're really picking the right guys, and the staff up in Maine are really taking care of their development and growth, making sure that they're able to make that next jump up to the NBA, which is it's cool to see that pipeline. Seeing a couple of these guys play up in Portland, and then the next day turn on ESPN and they're down in Boston, playing prime time. So it's good to see.
Yeah, and like you said, it definitely sort of just adds to that greater community. That it's nice to see that those two teams. To me, being a Celtics fan, pretty much my whole life, uh,
Yeah.
it the Maine Celtics and the Boston Celtics seem like they've done an amazing job of like making the team in Maine feel like an extension of the team in Boston.
Yeah, it's just I feel like they're really on the same page, They're both speaking the same language. There's no, communication that's missed between the two organizations, which is good to see being a Celtics fan.
True. Yeah, yeah. So I know that basketball's always played a big role in your life, and
Yeah,
Josiah has told me that your brother was a big time hooper.
yeah, he could hoop.
Uh, and so, I mean, a couple things. I mean, the first thing, just given the we're in 2026, I mean, did how often did you share like an open gym run or whatever with Cooper Flag?
Ah, nah, he's a lot younger than me.
Okay.
And I'm not gonna lie, he'd probably burn me since he was like a freshman, and even if I was an adult. He's real deal. So I don't even think I ever saw him play out here. I think when he was in high school, I was like in college and stuff. But yeah, he's way younger than I am. I think
Right.
he's like what 19, 18. I'm like 26, so I definitely missed that. A couple of the young kids I know from the neighborhood and such have hooped with them, but yeah, no, I missed that window.
So, you called it out as a 26-year-old. I'm curious, do you remember or what was your memory of the Celtics winning the title in '08?
I kind of like briefly remember it. I wasn't like super, super locked in, but I definitely remember during a couple basketball clinics that they rolled out the TV so we could all watch the game. I remember like the kind of some of the battles against the Magic in the Eastern Conference Finals. I remember a couple of those and the final, but it's a tough team. That team is definitely up there, probably like one of the all-time Celtics teams.
Oh, without a doubt. I I,
Yeah.
I think that the '08 Celtics team healthy, I, I'm I'm inclined to put them against Durant when he was on the Warriors.
Yeah.
It's hard for me to bet against the Bulls with the 72 wins and MJ and whatever, but
Yeah.
I think they would give those guys trouble as well.
No, for sure. I mean, from the top down, to be honest, from the starters to the bench players, it's a tough lineup. It's a very tough lineup. You got Rondo, Ray Allen, Pierce, probably Perk and KG. You got Tony Allen, a couple of Eddie Houses on the bench. Couple. That starting lineup is tough. That's you know.
It's true. It's true. It's true. So if you did, I mean, were you ever looking at like basketball and saying like, all right, I'm going to model my game after this guy, or just you just kind of had your own style?
I kind of just had my own style. I mean, being like pretty tall in Maine, once you're a certain height, they kind of like just mandatory make you play the 4 or 5
Right.
because everybody's like, there's not many, taller guys out here. But a couple of guys that I like basketball wise, like since I played the 4 and the 5, probably like a Tim Duncan. I like Tim Duncan a lot. I like the spin move, the jump hook with the right. I like Melo, kind of like the reverse pivot, kind of open up, a little jab series, stuff like that. But yeah, a little bit of that, maybe a little Zach Randolph in there, a
Oh,
couple of
okay.
Tayshaun Prince, maybe kind of like a lanky guard, a couple plays like that.
Couple chase down blocks. Um,
Yeah,
so that I appreciate the shout out to Tim Duncan, one of my favorite players, aka the Big Fundamental,
yeah.
aka Shaq's nickname for the guy. And so, I think that the Big Fundamental call is appropriate because you're a self-taught painter,
Mhm.
and at the same time, I think anybody who's self-taught at anything, um, you could argue, almost maybe has an intrinsically interesting kind of more whatever you're going to say relationship with the fundamentals. So for art, just talk about your journey into that and how you've obviously embraced it and made it, into your business and an extension of yourself all around this community.
So yeah, I kind of just had. I was never an artist growing up, which is sometimes hard for a lot of people to believe. It's something I'd come into my adult life, but um, knowing that there's a lot of catching up to do when it comes to like fundamentals and getting the right techniques down when it comes to either painting, graphic design, logos, illustration. So that's when it came to those things. I had to just start with like the basics. So when it comes to painting, is like trying to understand color theory, figures, form, perspective when it comes to illustration. I don't know who the artist that came up with this quote or concept, but it was like before you go to abstraction, you got to know like the basics of when it comes to art because you should work from, I don't, it's tough. I don't want to say like realism and stuff like that, but I think it's important to know how to, draw the body, the human body, the form, understanding color, perspective, like I said before you can kind of lean into loosening it up and going to abstraction. So learning from like specific artists, kind of like Caravaggio when it comes to light, Rembrandt when it comes to portraits. Same with Van Gogh and Frida Kahlo, people like that. And then kind of the other side of painting and art that I'm really interested is kind of like the surrealist aspect, kind of pouring more into your individual insight. So looking at artists like Rene Magritte and Picasso and Dali and guys like that, trying to take stuff from them. But it's definitely something I think is important is studying art history. Somebody had recently asked me about starting out as an artist and the advice that I had for them, and it's like just really try to study the greats and try to see how they went about it, and don't steal from them, but take little things that you can learn from them and add it to your own work.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Now Caravaggio, that I mean, his when you see his work in anywhere, frankly, I mean,
Yeah,
to me, I feel like his work in person or even on a phone, scrolling through social or whatever, there's something unmistakably gripping
yeah,
about how his work demonstrates just the grasp of lighting as a
yeah,
whole.
exactly. No,
Insane.
I've learned a lot from him for sure. He's got I'll never get close to it, but I'm able to see how he's able to set up a scene, just specifically with like something small as lighting, he's able to capture so much with just, creating specific settings with the way he treats light.
Not to shower you with a compliment, but the two works that I've seen you recently, I think you sold both of them maybe, but one of them was with Bird and Magic. The other one was, I think, with Pippen and MJ.
Yeah, yeah.
And
The bird one, no, go ahead, you good.
well, I was just gonna say, both of those executed in your style, those still have that depth of field, that kind of moody lighting. Like people talk about how the lighting at a Lakers game is different for the crowd because they want to illuminate,
Yeah,
the court or whatever. And that, I mean, like when I saw the Bird Magic one, I was like, wow, there's like a brightness to what's going on there relative to like there's a more kind of like I said, like a more shadow work maybe or something going on with the Pippen Jordan one. I don't know. Maybe this is
mm.
me in my eye or something like that.
No, no, I definitely see where you're coming from. I don't know. I just since I worked on my Ali painting last year, I've been liking that the darker background and kind of playing with the light in the forefront, which is it just looks good to me for some reason. But yeah, I sold the bird painting. That's out the house right now. I still got my Jordan and Pippen one. It hasn't gone up for sale yet, but I might save it just for an art show in the city or something.
Yep, yep. Well, speaking of which, we did the SDNY or SDLANY Sincerely show
Yeah,
back on September 9, and I can't begin to tell you one just how totally amazed I was with the collaboration that you and Josiah did on that fish. Uh,
thank you, thank you.
and I know that you've described that work in a separate clip, but for everybody listening here today, maybe you could again kind of just do a review of all of the different inspirations and historic references for New York City and otherwise that you put into that surfboard.
Yeah, it was a pretty quick deadline. So Josiah and I were trying to figure out, very fast how we were trying to approach it. We didn't want to be too cliche and go too with the kind of surfing theme because my first idea was to paint the Duke from like Hawaii, the big surfing legend. But we just kind of thought it'd be a little too cliche to go with the surfing theme. But with the show being in New York, we decided it would be cool to pay homage to the Knicks winning their championship. I forget what year specifically, but it was in the 70s. Um, and kind of just playing off of what was going on politically, socially during the 70s when it comes to Vietnam War, kind of the Black Panthers, women's rights, kind of rock music as well. I think I put like the CBGB, the Little Rock concert hall down in New York, just playing off of that. And it came out pretty well, you know. We had it seemed like people had a pretty good response to it and such. But yeah, I was playing around the 70s when it comes to political, social, and what basketball is close to me. So I kind of had to add that aspect about the Knicks winning in the 70s.
Yeah, no, it was incredible, and it felt like it was so organic, I guess. I don't know if that's the right word, but like the way that you blended those elements together, it made me feel like I was like, gosh, like because you and I hadn't met in person yet, and
Yeah,
and I was like, is this guy like from that era? Because it just felt, you know what I mean? Like it
yeah.
felt like you had experienced some elements of it from the New York City perspective or a period piece standpoint, and I thought it just said a million things about your depth and range as a creator.
No, thank you for sure. When it comes to pieces like that, there's definitely a lot of research that goes into it, and I love that part of research because you're able to learn a lot. Not only about the country, but not only about the past, but hopefully where we go in the future. So it's nice to look back in the past and see what the people, especially around the specific area that the surfboard was being placed. So it's nice to learn a lot more about New York, which is a place hopefully in the future I can travel to a lot more and do some more artwork in.
Yeah, so I was gonna say, in addition to your painting, you're building the Nully brand, and
Yeah.
talk about your brand, and if you can, also describe how the name Nully, or AKA Nully Nullsworth, came came to be.
Yeah, I started out with clothing, just trying to get like t-shirts made at the local mall, with like some terrible printing, being done. But the first goal was starting out as a clothing brand because I was definitely enamored and respected people like Virgil Abloh and guys like that, and how they went about it. But I always thought there's some importance of having a brand, and because once you're able to extend that, once you're able to establish that brand, you can branch off and do other things. Because everything comes back to that that home and foundation. So the aspiration for sure has always been starting a clothing brand and being able to go from that. And then, I found clothing. I mean, I found painting. And when I was showing my illustration work for my clothing designs, that's when other people from different companies would reach out and be like, all right, I kind of like how you're doing that for your brand. Can you add that to what I'm working on with my company when it comes to restaurants and small businesses? But yeah, the name Nelly is kind of, I don't know, it's like a little melancholic, kind of like little emo sad type of thing. It stands for nothing you love loves you, which is kind of not like something. I don't know. I'm not like a sad guy or anything. I'm a pretty happy, pretty happy fella. But that's kind of where the name stems from. And then Nully Nullsworth is kind of just like messing around with the name and such.
Well, there is a little bit of Zen within that. Nothing you love loves you, meaning don't chase too much, attract.
Yeah, no, that's a fact. No, definitely. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Show love to those who love you. For sure. I can agree to that. That's an aspect I didn't look at too much. So I'm happy you said that.
Happy to contribute however I can, obviously. So on that note, showing love and whatnot, talk about some of the stuff you've done recently at elementary schools within Portland. I think that you've been
Yeah,
contributing to art education in a number of different ways. Talk about that if you can.
yeah, no doubt. One of my good friends from growing up from sports, his mother works at an art school. I mean, works at an elementary school over in the East End side of town, as an art teacher. Past years or so, I've gone just, speak to the kids, just talk to them about, my process as an artist and when it comes to my illustration stuff and a little bit about my clothing. I haven't shared too much painting wise, but I think this session that, we're looking forward to getting started later in the spring, into the summer. I think I'm signed up for like, I think 6 or 8 classes to go down and speak with the kids. I think we're going to do like a couple painting sessions and maybe some small illustration work. But yeah, especially at the East End, a lot of the schools down in Portland, there's a big immigrant community, so it's cool to work with kids that that come from very diverse backgrounds, kind of like how I came when I went to Reiki, which was a pretty diverse school with kids coming from the Middle East, coming from Africa, Asia, different parts of the world. So it's cool to see all those kids come together, and it's cool to see them, be interested in something that I love and I hold dear to me. And it's hopefully, if I'm not able to do what I want in the art world, hopefully, I'm able to spark, the next mind that will get it done. So. I think also it's just like a nice weird talk. I was talking to the teacher the other day, just how art is therapy, not just for adults, but for some of these kids, it's a kind of way to, break free from, what's going on with the world, even though they're kids, still like the political and the craziness of the world still affects them. So, it's cool to give them a little break and be able to enjoy themselves a little bit and learn in the process as well.
No, without a doubt. I mean, I think I, I was one of those kids for sure that whenever the topic of art came around in school, you can tell who immediately in the room just kind of tunes in. And
Yeah,
right, and like there is that frequency I think that every or most creators share, where where they can look at something you're doing or look at someone else has done, and maybe have assumptions as to how they got there.
mhm.
They, like you said, they need that level of guidance, and I don't want to say permission, but like to know that finding your own style is kind of in a sense what it's all about. And
Yeah,
and not needing to stress whether or not like you're replicating, like you said, like a Rembrandt, like obviously that's an expression that we use, like, oh, this thing was such a Rembrandt, like a picture of whatever perfection or something. I don't know, right? But like, yeah, I at the same time, if I was sitting down in a classroom listening to you talk about style and observing your style, I mean, I think that one of the best things that somebody could say about what you create through your paintings, it feels like so unmistakably yours. It feels
yeah,
the authenticity frequency, if that's even an expression, rings very loud and true. I think. I'm sure you've maybe heard
no.
that from a lot of other folks.
Yeah, I've been hearing that a lot recently, which is good to hear, it's a nice feeling to have, when people say that, your art is unique to yourself. Because I feel like as an artist, that's all we can ask for, being able to claim our art as ourselves. And you're talking about kind of self-confidence. And I think that it's not just the art world, it kind of bleeds on to their own personal lives, finding their own, unique way to go about the world and be confident in who they are as a person.
1,000%. And I think that as you've mentioned in the climate that we all see around us every day, it's important not to get lost in any of that,
Hmm.
right?
For sure.
Because I think investing in ourselves as a community, but also investing in ourselves as a leader or a potential leader in that community, is what it's all about. I mean,
No, no doubt.
people can't sleep on that kind of responsibility, to themselves or their neighbors.
No, for sure. Definitely obligated to help out,
Yeah.
regardless, without a doubt.
So I really loved what you said about you wanting to be featured in a museum in New York City. I think that that was one of the things that you described,
Yeah.
with your art and also your apparel. And you touched on it quickly, but I remember the first you know product photo that you showed me, of this garment, this piece of outerwear that you made. I couldn't believe how, one, how beautiful just the product side of it was,
Mhm.
but two, I mean, you did an incredible job just with the color blocking and just decisions that you had made with color and just writ large of this jacket.
Yeah.
Um, so, having said all that, um, manifest for me like what would represent the museum and the venue for your apparel going forward.
Yeah. Museum wise, definitely I gotta be in the Met one day. I gotta put it out there, I gotta put it in the air. I definitely hope to be in the Met one day. I think first step first is we gotta get in the Portland Museum of Art, locally first, and then, work our way up. But, it'd be amazing to be, going toe to toe with, some of the greatest artists and be in the same room and same building, have my art, be in the same area. That would be amazing. And then when it comes to clothing, it'd be nice to do like a fashion week. I think that would be crazy. Do like a New York Fashion Week, um, and go from there. A storefront in New York would be insane. But yeah, just going. I think New York Fashion Week and the Met, are two places that are definitely on the hit list when it comes to goals.
On the radar. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And in terms of your the vision around your apparel collection, like I said, I've seen soft goods that you have made for the Maine Celtics and the graphic work that you do, which by the way, always fascinates me because at least for myself, I've done some paintings, I've done some mural stuff back in the day, and at the same time, like everybody knows that a logo versus a painting has such different objectives. And
Yeah, for
and I
sure.
right, and then you have like the product, like physical goods side of things, which is a piece of art in its own right, and yet other objectives. So
Yeah,
maybe talk about how you switch mindsets really, in between
yeah.
some of these disciplines.
It's definitely a lot easier said than done for sure. Like I'm kind of struggling right now because I've been painting so much and I've been asked to do a couple logos. So it's like with painting, it's you're able to improvise and add your own aspects of what you like because it's your own work. But when it comes to logos, you got to understand like that's the brainchild and the product for that company, for them to grow. So it's like I can't be like selfish at all with it. I kind of have to go with the objectives and the certain aspects that the company and the owners have asked for, and to keep it a lot more simple. So different audiences and different demographics are able to interact with it in a positive light. Which helps with the return on investment to what the company or whoever the owner is that is trying to enhance their branding. So right now, it's definitely a little tough since I've been painting a bit. I gotta tune my brain to another area of my brain. Try to pull from when it comes to keeping things simple and making sure I'm following the story and staying true to the identity of the company and the brand. When it comes to illustration and stuff, it's kind of like a mix because I'm able to play a little more when it comes to colors and the story. But again, with that as well, I have to keep it simple too. So with painting, I can kind of just run free and do whatever I want because it's my work. But I have to stay true to the brand identities when I'm doing illustration and logo design.
Yeah, no, your logo design, is, I mean, people who can execute a sharp, crisp, clean graphic, that is a skill that so many people try and claim that they have. But
Yeah,
when you see the work that you put out, and I think we all know, like, you know, whether it's you doing stuff for the Maine Celtics or stuff that I've seen you do from your brand, it's funny now that I know what Nully stands for because all of the illustration graphic stuff has this like I'm not trying to drop like this zest.
yeah,
There's like this energy of positivity,
yeah.
this kind of stay up energy to it. That's my read on it. The second I see any of the graphic stuff you do.
No, definitely. I try to pour that into everything I'm working on, this idea of hope and, a better future for everybody. It's definitely the storyline and what I try to breathe into everything I work in.
I love that, man. So what would be a piece of advice for the younger version of yourself or your current self here in 2026 for
Yeah.
everybody listening, and for everybody as you do every day, everyone who's looking to continually level up their work and their process.
Yeah, like I was saying earlier, definitely research and seek out, the people that have come before you, whether it's, senior artists that live in your city or, artists from the past throughout our history, going to the library and studying as much as I can and just trying to soak up as much knowledge, from different aspects. So, you can help your art study and your art practice grow. And stay consistent with the work. It's kind of like a couple of people think there's something magical about it, but it's just showing up every day, really, at the end of the day. It's just staying true to your craft and making sure you hold yourself accountable when it comes to how hard you're working. And yeah, just again, taking care of yourself, physically and mental health wise. That's a big thing. You don't want to burn out and lose those type of things because, those are pretty important to basic daily life. So I think those three things for sure, would be my advice to my past self, or any artist that is trying to seek growth in their craft or anybody in general. I think it really can be applied to whatever you want to do in life, really.
Well, I have to pay you a compliment because it just seems like you have absorbed a lot of really great advice from either yourself or the people around you as you've grown up. Because I remember that when you and I first sat down for lunch, and you spoke like you were a much older person than you are.
Yeah.
In terms of, they say songs of innocence or experience, and for 26, I was like, wow. I was like, this guy talks like someone who's got another 20 years of experience on top of that.
No, no, I appreciate that a lot. I definitely try to, not be, too cocky and confident where I'm not taking advice. I'm always open to say when I'm wrong and always looking forward to learn from my failures and losses for sure. So, I'm always humble in my craft and how I treat myself as a person.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, as you and I have said, I am excited for more stuff that we can do together.
Yeah,
Without a doubt, I think that that would be something like I said that I can see happening into the future. And on that note of looking into the crystal ball,
yeah.
let's go back to the Super Bowl for tomorrow. Do you have a score prognostication that you could throw out?
Ooh. I don't have a score, but I think if the Pats win, it's off a field goal. That's what I'm saying. I
Okay.
think I think it's gonna. I think if the Pats win and get it done, it's off a field goal. That's my only little nugget that I can give when it comes to prediction wise. What
I
you
like
think?
that.
What do you think the score is gonna be?
Okay. All right. I think I think that both teams are gonna be in the 20s. I can see it.
Okay.
I can see it being, to your point, um, I can see it being like a 28-27 game coming down to that last field goal
Yeah.
for both sides. And and I say that because uh, rarely do we get to see a Super Bowl that is an absolute shootout, unless it's a
Yeah.
most teams don't put up a lot of points unless it's just like a blowout type thing where the one team just folded and just got the whole game plan wrong. You know,
Mm.
so I have to imagine both teams are going to be tight within the first two quarters, and I attribute that to the fact that most of the time both quarterbacks are playing with a fair amount of nerves on the first couple of possessions.
Yeah. Yeah. First couple snaps are, just to test the air.
Exactly, exactly. So yeah, I mean, my prognostication score in the mid to high 20s. I like your field goal call. I think these are both very disciplined teams. I love watching the Patriots. I'm a recovering San Diego Chargers fan, and so
Uh-oh, all right.
you know what I mean. Once they left the hometown, I can't root for them in Los Angeles. So I've been either split between Philadelphia Eagles. Shout out, Randall Cunningham was always my favorite player growing up,
Okay, yep, yep.
and at the same time, even though the Patriots were not my favorite team, especially seeing them bounce the Chargers back in '06 when the Chargers were 14-2. That was
Yep.
that was tough to see. The Marlon McCree interception fumble combo was a tough one.
Is that what Philip Rivers? Is that Philip Rivers or no?
Philip Rivers started. Yeah, that was his first year as a starter. He backed
Yeah.
up Drew Brees as a rookie.
Yeah. That's crazy. Drew Brees is over there. Yeah, yeah, that's wild.
Yeah. So, in any case, I've become a default Patriots fan, and it's hard for me to say that because I know that there are so many real deal Patriots fans. For me, I'm just like
Yeah, no.
a newcomer to the like in the back of the party. Like I kind of just got in, kind of looking around.
Nah, I respect that. I could kind of feel the same. I'm more of a Celtics fan than I am a Pats fan, but it's New England. You kind of have to rep them. Hopefully they get the win tomorrow and get it done.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. Nully, like I said, I look so forward to new work that we can do together. I
Yeah, no
so
doubt.
greatly appreciate you taking the time to tap in and share more about your process today.
Yeah, no, thank you, John. I appreciate that, and hopefully we got some more podcasts, more projects in the future, clothing wise, and I'm sure this will be a nice relationship that we grow for sure.
Absolutely, man.
All
Well,
right, John.
best of luck with the snow, and
Thank you.
we'll talk again soon.
All right, John. Appreciate you, man. Be easy.
Have
Have
a
a
good
good
one.
weekend.
You as
All right.
well.